number 3 is Jayden Daniels. Now, Daniels is also, I would say, like a 5-tool type of player. I just went through those tools, and he does all of those really well. Maybe not some of them to the level that Caleb Williams does or Drake May does, but others he does even better. He's more of a threat with his legs than all the others. He's been an unbelievable runner in college football, ran for over 1,100 yards last season, but he is slender. That can be a concern. Can he run around like he did in college? Probably not. He's 6'4", 210. I love how experienced this guy is. He's played a ton of football, 55 starts in his college career, 26 of them at LSU in the SEC. He was incredible last year on his way to the Heisman Trophy, averaged over 400 yards of total offense per game, including 95 per game on the ground. So again, like, he is a threat. Every one of those 5 tools you see elements of during the course of evaluating him. Now, did he play with some outstanding wide receivers? Yes, he did. And was it easier for him to put up some of those numbers? Yeah. And is it harder to evaluate him for the next level because of Neighbors and Brian Thomas? Yes. That being said, this guy is highly skilled. And again, I'll go back to that experience. I'm a big believer in experience going into the National Football League. And 55 starts is a lot. That is a lot. We talked about Bo Nix with 61 starts. Well, here's Daniels, and he's right behind him with 55. What I thought he did so well during the course of his career is he went from what I thought was like a really athletic and dynamic player athletically on the field at ASU to a guy that was controlling the game from the pocket. So he was more well-rounded, a 5-tool player. Rather than great in 1 or 2 areas early in his career at ASU, he developed into a guy that showed the elements necessary to be really good in all 5 categories that you evaluate. And again, just a reminder, what are those 5 categories? I talked about them. Pocket control. Can you control the game from the pocket? Arm talent. Do you have it? Movement and creating. How good are you when things break down and you can't just be a runner? Number 4, how are you as a runner? Are you a threat to the defense with your legs? And then what is your mind like? Do you understand the schematics of the sport? And I think Daniels really developed in a lot of those categories. He was much better getting the ball out on time and on target, especially late in his career. Now, granted, he had quality wide receivers to do that, but that was what I felt like was the proper maturation that you saw from him from a quarterback standpoint. So Daniels is number 3. At number 4, I toyed around with this guy at number 3 because I got to tell you, like, I'm just a huge fan. Before the season, I was talking about this guy. I told you he was the dark horse for the Heisman Trophy. I ended up voting for him for the Heisman Trophy. He does one thing through the roof well. Like, incredible. And it's the one thing that you see quarterbacks have to do the most in playoff situations. And that is control the game with leverage throws from the pocket. In the heat of the moment, can you do that? And Michael Penix does that as well as any of these players. Now, is he deficient in some of these 5 categories? Sure. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions about his injury history. 2 knees, a shoulder. I will say he just played 2 full seasons without re-injuring himself. And he was on the field and he was reliable in the last couple of seasons. And again, this guy from the pocket, nobody was required to control the game from the pocket in college more than Michael Penix. They didn't win unless he was controlling the game from the pocket. His ability to understand the schematics of defense and then throw with leverage down the field is second to none. His ability to throw the ball with leverage deep down the field is uncanny. And when I say leverage, and I've talked about it a little bit on this podcast, when you watch highlights of him, and those of you on YouTube are seeing some of those highlights right now, when you watch highlights of him, what you see is that even if he's throwing the ball 30, 40, 50 yards downfield, he's missing on the correct side. The ball has proper leverage. He's always putting his player between the ball and the defender. So the ball is always away from the defender. It drives me nuts when I watch quarterbacks throw the ball down the field and they short wide receivers. They lead them into coverage. They make the play more difficult on the wide receiver. Whereas if I'm playing wide receiver for Michael Penix, he's putting the odds in my favor. Okay? Because the ball is in the proper area for me to go catch it. Lower odds for the defender, higher odds for me. It's always that way. I'm telling you, it's exquisite. Now, I think a lot of people would just say because of his injury history, well, he's immobile and he can't really move around. He might not be a threat with his legs, and that's one of the categories where he falls short compared to some of the other guys that I just talked about. But think about his ability to manipulate the pocket, move in the pocket, and then create. We saw that against Texas. His performance against Texas in the national semifinal is a case study in how you have to play at the NFL level in the playoffs. This guy was pressured 16 times, didn't take a sack. Most of that pressure was from right up the middle against guys, by the way, that are going to be in the National Football League and selected really high in this draft. Byron Murphy, Devondre Sweat. Like, that was a really good defensive line. And he put his team on his back, threw the ball unbelievably well down the field in the middle of that chaos and that pressure. Did he play well against Michigan? No, he didn't play well against Michigan. But it's in there. It is in there. And that's one of the things that you've got to understand about college players. They're never going to be great every single game. They have highs and lows, ups and downs, partly because the players around them have wild ebbs and flow in their performance. But what you do see is the potential for him to be pretty great all the time. And again, it might be a lot of fit with him, where he goes, who he gets to throw to, who his offensive coordinator is. But this guy's game translates. He started 45 games. He's older. He's mature. He's 24. He hasn't been injured in 2 years. And he throws the ball post-snap with great reads and great leverage. And that's exactly what you need in the NFL to be a really good player. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.